Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your boy Ace. This is Fantasized Football. We are back once again, bringing y'all some more fantasy football content for the 2021 fantasy football season. And I am here today bringing y'all my favorite waiver wire targets for week 14 of the fantasy football season. Isn't it crazy? We are already here in the last week of the regular season for the fantasy football season. But before we get into the main event, the meat and potatoes, I did want to give a quick shout out to each and every one of y'all that come by on a weekly basis, showing you boys some love and support, helping the channel to grow. I really do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. If you are new to the channel, welcome. I do hope you enjoyed today's video. If you do at any point, make sure that you leave a like, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Help me reach my goal of 500 subscribers on YouTube by the end of the fantasy football season. I would appreciate any and all help reaching that goal. But yes, we are here in the final week of the regular fantasy football season, bringing y'all my week 14 waiver wire targets, my must-add players here for week 14. We have a lot to talk about. So without further ado, let's kick it off with my quarterback waiver wire targets, my quarterback streams for the week. And the first one, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill of the New Orleans Saints currently rostered in 35.9% of leagues. Now, Taysom Hill had 4 picks last week. He had 4 interceptions last week. And he still managed to put up 25 fantasy points and 6 point per passing touchdown leagues. How did he do that? He had over 260 yards, 2 touchdowns, but most importantly, he had over 100 yards on the ground. And that's what we love so much about Taysom Hill here, is that he brings that rushing upside. Now, it is worth mentioning that he did suffer a finger injury here in week 13, which could limit his production a little bit, but I'm not too concerned about it based on the nature of how Taysom Hill plays the quarterback position, with the rushing upside being there. And on top of that, he's a relatively safe quarterback. I mean, he threw 4 picks last week, so maybe that's not the case, but generally in the past, he's been more of kind of a game manager, and then he just brings that rushing upside. But most importantly is the matchup. He has a matchup here against the Jets. This is a great matchup. The Jets have allowed the 6th most yards to the quarterback position, and they allow the 3rd most rushing yards in the league. So this is a recipe for a big, massive Taysom Hill explosion here this week in week 14. So if you need help at quarterback, you need someone to start a quarterback this week, Taysom Hill is my #1 option here on waivers. But if Taysom Hill is not available to you, or you're not trusting Taysom Hill due to the finger injury, I do like Taylor Hanaki a bit here as well. I do like Taysom Hill more, but I do like Hanaki as well. Now, Taylor Haneke's fantasy production has been a little bit sporadic, but I do like him this week in this matchup against Dallas. This is a divisional game at home where I expect a lot of offense on both sides of the ball. We know how Dallas likes to operate. Dallas is going to throw the ball a lot, a whole lot. And the Washington football team is going to have to throw the ball a lot in order to keep up with them. Washington has a weak pass defense, so I think Dak and the Cowboys will go out and try to expose that. And Haneke is going to have to be slanging it in order to stay in this game. And I think this will be a relatively close game. Like I said, just a lot of offense on both sides of the ball. So I like Taylor Haneke a lot. Here, Dallas has allowed the 6th most passing yards to the quarterback position in the league thus far this season. So here we go. We're here with Taysom Hill, Taylor Haneke. Those are my 2 quarterback waiver wire targets here for week 14. Now, moving over to running back, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm going to be 100% real and honest right off the bat here. Running back, it's just not it this week. Last week was the running back week. I hope you got yourself Alexander Madison. I hope you got yourself Chuba Hubbard, someone like that. Because this week, if you need running back, God bless you. But nonetheless, I do have some players here for you guys. And the first one, you guys, gals, everyone, all y'all, everybody. I think running backs for everybody. Of course I do. Of course I do. Let me tell you something about the running backs, right? All right, listen. First and foremost, Kenneth Gamewell of the Philadelphia Eagles, currently rostered in 11.2% of leagues. Hell, you could call this whichever Eagles running back you prefer, because Boston Scott's about 30% rostered, and Jordan Howard, I think, is just over 10% rostered. So whoever you like here, I like Kenneth Gamewell, though, here. Miles Sanders, unfortunately, re-aggravated that ankle that's been holding him out for the past few weeks here in week 13. So it's kind of a next man up thing here. It's likely to be a 2 to 3 man split here between Gainwell, Scott, Jordan Howard, whoever it may be. But Kenneth Gamewell looked really good here. He had 17 touches for 87 yards and a touchdown. So kind of my thought process is with Kenneth Gamewell here, you ride the hot hand, right? They are going into a bye this week, so you won't have him this week. But I do think he's worth an ad, right? I mean, it could be Boston Scott. It could be Jordan Howard. But they did invest draft capital into Kenneth Gamewell, that being the Eagles, of course. So after a big performance, 17 carries, 17 touches for 87 yards and a touchdown. Hopefully they give him another opportunity coming out of the bye in the first week of the playoffs. So I do like Kenneth Gamewell, but if you need help at running back this week, right here in week 14, I'm throwing a dot here. Not really throwing a dot, but I'm taking a little shot. I'm getting a little risque here. I'm going with Rashad Penny. Going with Rashad Penny. Rostered in 1.7% of leagues, of the Seattle Seahawks, of course. Now, here's why I'm going with Rashad Penny. He went for over 10 touches for the first time this season here this week. He had 11 touches for 62 yards, right? He played pretty well. Adrian Peterson, on the other hand, was super, super inefficient here in this matchup last week in week 13. Rashad Penny outperformed them. They had about the same amount of touches, I believe. Adrian Peterson had 10. Rashad Penny had 11. So I'm here saying that I think Rashad Penny might be the guy. He is finally healthy. And don't forget, the Seahawks do have first-round draft capital invested into Rashad Penny. So now that he's healthy, I think this is a good opportunity for Pete Carroll, the Seahawks, to see actually what they have with Rashad Penny. I mean, obviously health is a concern with him, and obviously here you have Alex Collins, you have Adrian Peterson, you have a lot to worry about, but they have a matchup here against Houston. This is one of the best matchups for the running back position here against Houston. Houston has led up the most rushing yards to the running back position, the second most touchdowns to the running back position, and if Rashad Penny can be the lead back here for Seattle this week, or at least be involved, get 12 to 14 touches, I think the Seahawks are going to destroy the Texans too. I think the Seahawks need a big game here, so I'm expecting a lot out of Russ, out of the Seahawks as a whole. And if they're in a positive game script, there could be enough volume to go around for Rashad Penny, Adrian Peterson, Alex Collins, all of them, if they all are all involved. But I'm hoping for 12 to 15 touches here from Rashad Penny this week. I like him a lot. So running back this week, I like Rashad Penny. Last but not least, at running back, I did just want to throw him out there, is Tevin Coleman of the New York Jets, currently rostered in 42% of leagues. Now, over these past 2 weeks, Tevin Coleman is averaging 16 touches per game. He has out-touched Ty Johnson 32-9 in that period of time. He's actually been decent too. He's had 70 or more yards in each of these past 2 games. 70 or more total yards, that is. Now, he does have a very tough matchup this week against New Orleans. New Orleans is a top 10 rush defense, both in rushing yards allowed and touchdowns allowed to the position. But nonetheless, he should at least provide you with a little bit of volume here. Like this week, if you're looking for a running back on the waiver wire, God bless you. Seriously, God bless you. There's not a lot out there, right? But at least a little, good stuff, I guess, about Tevin Coleman here is after this matchup with New Orleans, he gets Miami and Jacksonville, right? Miami hasn't been necessarily a good matchup for the running back position, more kind of middle of the pack, but Jacksonville is a great, great matchup. If Michael Carter isn't back, ready to go at that point, then Tevin Coleman has a whole lot of upside there in the second week of the playoffs. So those are the 3 running backs I would be targeting on waiver wires here this week. And now moving over to the wide receiver position. Listen. We've been here before. We have been here before. Multiple times we have been here before. Listen, you remember a little while back, 3-4 weeks in a row, I told you Elijah Moore. What happened with Elijah Moore? He's been a stud. Russell Gage. This is about 3 weeks in a row. Russell Gage of the Atlanta Falcons rostered in 25.2% of leagues. I've been saying this for weeks. And what did Russell Gage come out and do this week against Tampa Bay? I said I loved Russell Gage this week. I loved him. You know what he did? He had season highs pretty much across the board. 12 targets, 11 catches, 130 yards. He did not find the end zone, but 12 targets here for Russell Gage. He has now had 15 or more half PPR points in back-to-back games. If you need help at wide receiver, get yourself Russell Gage. He is going to be involved. The volume is going to be there for Russell Gage. He should at least be a flex, a relatively safe, especially in full PPR, flex option. If not, with wide receiver 3, possibly back end wide receiver 2 upside moving forward. So you need help at wide receiver. I love Russell Gage, but there is another player that I like a lot at the wide receiver position, and it's KJ Osborne of the Minnesota Vikings, currently rostered in in 4.1% of leagues. Now, with KJ Osborne, we talked about KJ Osborne a lot earlier on in the season, but now he's got a big opportunity. Adam Thielen unfortunately did suffer an injury. It is a high ankle sprain, so he is going to miss some time here. KJ Osborne saw 7 targets here in week 13. That was his most since week 6. And I expect KJ Osborne to be a big-time benefactor of Adam Thielen having to miss some time. We've seen it with KJ Osborne. When the volume is there, he can produce. And now he's going to be the number 2 option on this team until Adam Thielen is coming back. So I expect to see a large increase in terms of his role in this offense, in terms of his volume moving forward. Do I think he's going to be in that 8-10 target range? No, but do I think he could be 6 to 8 targets week in and week out until Thielen's back? Yeah, more than likely, unless the Vikings are in a very positive game script where they're just running the ball. I think KJ Osborne has a lot of upside here. And now moving over to tight end, we're going to stick with the Vikings. Another player that I think is a big benefactor from this Adam Thielen injury is Tyler Conklin of the Minnesota Vikings, currently rostered in 34.2% of leagues. Now, this is obviously very similar to KJ Osborne. With Adam Thielen out, the targets have to go somewhere, so I think Osborne and Tyler Conklin are going to be the main benefactors of that. Conklin saw 9 targets, 7 catches, 56 yards here in week 13. And a big thing here to keep in mind with Conklin is that Adam Thielen is a big-time red zone threat, a big-time red zone weapon for Jared Goff. So Tyler Conklin very well could be the guy that takes over as that red zone threat for Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings. So I like Tyler Conklin a lot, not only for this week, but moving forward until Adam Thielen is back. So if you need help at tight end, we're looking at Tyler Conklin here this week. And now, with the main slate wrapped up, it's time to move on to the DST Stream of the Week. Whoa. You know what that was? That was me charging at you. Charging at you. Because we're going with the LA Chargers, baby. We're going with the LA Chargers, currently rostered in 7.2% of leagues. Huge week. Big week 13 for the Chargers against Cincinnati. They allowed 22 points. They had 6 sacks, 2 interceptions, and 2 fumble recoveries, one of which went for a touchdown. So we're riding the hot hand here. We are riding that hot hand here with the LA Chargers, and they got a matchup here against the Giants. Listen, I'm picking on the Giants. I'm sorry. I'm picking on the Giants. Last week, I said Miami with their matchup with the Giants. This week, I'm saying the Chargers with their matchup here against the Giants, right? Now, Miami held their own last week. Chargers are on a good stretch. The Giants have been struggling. They're averaging 14 points per game over the last 5 games. It seems like the organization is turnover prone. It's more Daniel Jones. But on that note of Daniel Jones isn't even playing. We got Jake Fromm making his first NFL start. What do we expect from Jake Fromm? I don't know. I expect a lot of pressure coming from the Chargers, though. A lot of sacks, some turnovers. Big week for the LA Chargers. If you've got a stream of defense here in week 14, I am going with the LA Chargers. Now, to wrap things up, we're going to go through the deep sleepers, the players that are there for y'all in the deeper leagues, rostered in less than 20% of leagues. First and foremost, we have Big Ben Roethlisberger at the quarterback position, currently rostered in 15.8% of leagues. Let me tell you something about Ben Roethlisberger, right? Ben Roethlisberger don't care. He don't care. He already said, this is it for me in the Steelers. I'm done. Is he going to retire? I mean, more than likely, right? So he don't care. He don't care. You know what that means? He's dangerous. He's dangerous. He's dangerous. Listen, Ben hasn't been bad either. He's had 23 or more fantasy points and 6 point per pass and touchdown leagues in 2 of the last 3 games. And he's got a matchup here against Minnesota. I like this matchup a lot. Hell, Minnesota just let Jared Goff go for nearly 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in week 13. I'd like to believe, even at this point in his career, that Big Ben is at least equivalent, if not a bit better than Jared Goff. If you agree with me, then I like this a lot here for Ben Roethlisberger. Listen, Minnesota's allowed 3 or more touchdowns to the quarterback position in 3 of the last 5 games. So I like Ben Roethlisberger a lot here. If you need to stream the quarterback position in a deeper league, I would be going with Big Ben in this matchup against Minnesota. Now, moving over to running back, Adrian Peterson of the Seattle Seahawks. Listen, I talked about Rashad Penny already. Adrian Peterson is kind of same deal. I like the matchup a lot. He had 10 carries for 16 yards last week. Very inefficient, but he did find the red zone. He did find the end zone. If he is going to be around the goal line at all in this game against Houston, chances are he probably does find the end zone. So if you need to stream the running back position, you're in a deeper league. Listen, this week is tough. You're looking for a pulse. Adrian Peterson has a pulse. Go ahead and take the pulse and Put it in your lineup, I guess. There you go. Moving on, though. Amara St. Brown. I talked a lot about Amara St. Brown this year. I really wanted to manifest. If you've been following me ever since the offseason, I would a lot of times in my mock drafts take Amara in like the last round just because I like the upside here for Amara St. Brown. Obviously, the Detroit Lions rostered in 6.5% of leagues. I got to talk about him here this week because he set career highs, season highs, literally across the board here. Targets, receptions, yards, and he scored his first ever NFL touchdown. Good for you, Amara. Good for you. He had 12 targets, 10 catches, 86 yards, and a touchdown here in Week 13. He's seen 5 or more targets in 7 out of 11 games this season. He has been the most consistent of the bunch when it comes to the Lions receivers. I do like Josh Reynolds too. It is worth mentioning that Josh Reynolds had another decent week here this week, only in his second week with the team, but he does have the connection with Jared Goff. But I like Amara more. I like Amara even more based on what we saw this week, based on the potential volume moving forward. You need help, wide receiver, deeper league. I do like Amara St. Brown here. And then moving over to tight end. Listen, I got two of them. I got two tight ends. Two of them. First being Cole Comet of the Chicago Bears, currently rostered in 13.5% of leagues. Now, Cole Comet has seen 7 or more targets in 3 of the last 4 games. In these last 4 games, he's actually averaging 7 targets per game. He had 1 down game, but for the most part, the volume has been there for Cole Comet as of recently. But you know what hasn't been there? The touchdowns. The touchdowns have not been there for Cole Komet, despite him seeing some volume. So he is in for some touchdown regression. Hell, is he going to get one this week? I don't really know, but he's going to match up here against Green Bay. It is a divisional matchup. I expect this to be a game that, if anything, is probably a negative game script for the Bears, calling for a lot of passing volume. And what we've seen in terms of involvement for Cole Komet says to me that he's at least worth an ad here. If you're in a deeper league, you need help at tight end. Listen, we're looking for, in a deeper league, touchdown or bust type of guys, or players that are getting volume. When you've got a tight end that's getting seven or more targets, 7 targets over the past 4 weeks, averaging 7 targets a week. I mean, what more can you really ask for at that point? So I like Cole Komet a lot here. But if you're not feeling Cole Komet, whatever, you don't trust the offense, don't worry. I got another guy for you guys here. It is Ricky Seals-Jones. It is Ricky Seals-Jones of the Washington football team, currently rostered in 6.3% of leagues. Now, Logan Thomas, unfortunately, was injured. Thankfully, avoided a torn ACL, a torn MCL here in Week 13. Prayers up for Logan Thomas, speedy recovery. But Ricky Seals-Jones is now the next man up. He's been out for a few weeks, so it seems like he's going to play. He was limited a lot last week, so I'm assuming that he should progress and should be good to go this week. If not, John Bates is the guy, but it seems like Ricky Seals-Jones is going to play. Now, we've seen it. Hanaki, the Washington football team, they involve the tight end heavily. When Logan Thomas is healthy, he's out there all the time. When Ricky Seals-Jones was healthy and Logan Thomas wasn't out there, Ricky Seals-Jones was out there all the time. So I think Seals-Jones is in for a larger role in this offense. He's going to step into a large role here with Logan Thomas out of the lineup. He did see some volume. There was like a 3-week stretch where he got 6 or more targets. He was right around 10 PPR points week in and week out. So I think he should at least provide a floor. And like I said before, I do like this matchup with Dallas. I expect a lot of passing volume. And the floor is open here for Washington, right? It's Terry McLaurin and then it's whoever else at tight end. As for pass catchers, J.D. McKissic's banged up. Sometimes it's DeAndre Carter. But I think Ricky Seals-Jones could be in for a big game here against the Dallas Cowboys. So I like him a lot as at least streaming option, if not an answer for the coming weeks if you are in a deeper league. But that wraps it up. That wraps up my waivers for Week 14 of the fantasy football season. The final regular season week of the fantasy football season here for 2021. And now we are going on to the playoffs. I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did at any point, make sure that you leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel. Help me reach my goal of 500 subscribers on YouTube by the end of the fantasy football season. I would appreciate any and all help reaching that goal. Make sure you follow my socials. Links will be down below. And that's all. That's it. That's all. That's all there is. Me, my boy, we are out. We will catch y'all next time. And as always, thank you, love you, peace.